व्रजजानरञ्जना जमुनातीरा वनचारी जमुनातीरा वनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजानरंजन जमुनातीरा वनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Śrīmad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Śrīmad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Srila Prabhupada Ki Granthra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. This morning we are discussing from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 7, entitled The Son of Drona Punished, Text 27. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vethedam Drona Putrasya Brahmam Astram Pradarshitam Naivasau Veda Samharam Prana Badha Upastithe. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vethedam Drona Putrasya Vetedam dona putrasya Brahmam astram pradarshitam Brahmam astram pradarshitam Naivaso Veda Samharam Naivaso Deva Veda Samharam Pranabadha upastite Pranabadha upastite Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vetedam Drona Putrasya Brahmamastram Pradarshitam Naivasu Veda Samharam Pranabadha Upastite Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vetedam Drona Putrasya Brahmamastram Pradarshitam Naivaso Veda Samharam Pranabadha Upastite. Please recite. Vetedam Drona Putrasya Brahmamastram Pradarshitam Naivaso Veda Samharam Pranabadha Upastite Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vetedam Drona Putrasya Brahmamastram Pradarshitam Naivaso Veda Samharam Pranabadha Upastite. One more devotee. Shri Bhagavan Vetedam Drona Putrasya Brahmamastram Pradarshitam Naivaso Veda Samharam Pranabadha Upastite. Any Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vetedam Drona Putrasya Brahmamastram Pradarshitam Veda Samharam Pranabadha Upastite. Anybody from Vaishnavis? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vetedam Drona Putrasya Brahmamastram Pradarshitam Naivaso Deva Samharam Pranabadha Upastite. We'll see word to word meaning. Shri Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uvacha, said, Veta, just know from me. Idam, this, Drona Putrasya, of the son of Drona. Brahmamastram, hymns of the Brahma, nuclear weapon. Pradarshitam, exhibited. Na, not. Eva, even. Asau, he. Veda, know it. Samharam, retraction. Pranabadhe, extinction of life. Upastite, being imminent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, know that from me, that this is the act of the son of Drona. He has thrown the hymns of the nuclear energy, Brahmastra, and he does not know how to retract the glare. He has helplessly done this, being afraid of imminent death. Please recite the translation in response. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, know from me that this is the act of the son of Drona. He has thrown the hymns of nuclear energy, Brahmastra, and he does not know how to retract that glare. He has helplessly done this, being afraid of imminent death. Purport. The Brahmastra is similar to the modern nuclear weapon manipulated by atomic energy. The atomic energy works wholly on total combustibility, and so the Brahmastra also acts. It creates an intolerable heat similar to atomic radiation, but the difference is that the atomic bomb is a gross type of nuclear weapon, whereas the Brahmastra is a subtle type of weapon produced by chanting hymns. It is a different science, and in the days gone by such science was cultivated in the land of Bharatavarsha. The subtle science of chanting hymns is also material, but it has yet to be known by the modern material scientist. Subtle material science is not spiritual, but it has a direct relationship with spiritual method, which is still subtler. A chanter of the hymns knew how to apply the weapon as well as how to retract it. That was perfect knowledge. But the son of Dronacharya, who made use of this subtle science, did not know how to retract. He applied it being afraid of his imminent death, and thus the practice was not only improper but also irreligious. As the son of Brahmana, he should not have made so many mistakes, and for such gross negligence of the duty, he was to be punished by the Lord himself. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So first of all, I seek blessings of all the assembled devotees so that we can discuss something worthwhile from this discussion of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And here in this context, it is described about the activities of Ashwatthama being a very, very sinful person, so much so that even the name is not uttered, and he is just referred as Brahma Bandhu or Drona Putrasya. So here we see that out of his cunningness, Ashwatthama has killed 5 sons of Pandavas. Apparently sometimes it is described that he thought them to be Pandavas themselves, but at the same time he knew that to kill Pandavas was difficult, and just to inflict pain to Pandavas, he killed his sons. So Ashwathama here is a very, very, mean, cunning and mischievous person who unrighteously killed these 5 sons of Pandavas. So in the course of Kshatriyas, it is described that whom to attack and whom not to attack. Only somebody who is prepared to receive your attack, you should attack only that person. It is not that if somebody is awake and is a Kshatriya, you can go and fight with him. If the Kshatriya says that I am not willing to fight with you, then even though he is a Kshatriya, he should not be attacked. Only when he is ready, he says that I am ready to fight with you, you should attack him. In the Puranas, you will see that a Kshatriya will come to another Kshatriya and he says that I challenge you in the fight. Please come and fight with me. So only when such a challenge is being declared, only then the Kshatriyas fight. That is called as religious fight. So why such religious fight is to be sought for? Like Krishna tells to Arjuna that you have come almost to the step of a dharma yuddha, religious fight. And such religious fight is aspired by Kshatriyas. Now this has come on its own accord, on your doorstep, in front of you. Why are you denying it? So fighting religiously is so glorious that even though you are on wrong side for the sake of fighting, but when you come and fight religiously means as per the course of Kshatriyas, whatever sinful baggage you are carrying, that also gets eradicated and you get purified. So that is the reason why dharma yuddhas has to be fought in a very religious way. So we all know many of the Kauravas after their death, did they go to hell? No. I mean, if you see the acts conducted by the Kauravas, it is very much justified that they go to hell. They tried to disrobe Draupadi, they tried to kill Pandavas, so many mischievous activities they did. But still they went back to Swarga. Seems very contradictory. But the thing is, in a dharma yuddha, if a person dies, all his papa gets eradicated. So that is the code and conduct of Kshatriyas. So whereas Ashwathama, even though if it is argued that they are sons of Kshatriyas, fighting against Kshatriyas is not wrong, but fighting against Kshatriyas who are not prepared for the war is also unrighteous. Somebody who is sleeping, he does not even know that I am being attacked and killed. So it is a very, very sinful thing. So somebody who is sleeping, somebody who is mad, somebody who is in not good state of a Kshatriya also should not be killed. We see in the battle of Ramayana, when Lord Ram reached Sri Lanka and the battle of Ramayana started. So on the first day of Ramayana, Ravana gets excited, he becomes little bit mad, he becomes intoxicated or out of mental stability. He comes and fights with Rama, and Rama thoroughly defeats him in a very religious way. But Lord Ramachandra does not kill Ravana on the day one. He says that I see that you are disturbed in your mental state and you are not in good position. So go back and prepare nicely and come. Then we will fight and then I will kill him. Imagine if you got an enemy who has abducted your wife and for almost 1 year you have been put into such great difficulties and you got him. Will somebody just leave it saying that okay, you have come to battle by mistake. You come back prepared and come. Nobody would do that. Imagine Bhima if such a situation comes in front of Bhima, he would have not even spoken to that person. He would have just grabbed him by neck and Shri Shri Radha Madhav Bhagwan ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki. So Bhima also in one situation was similar to Ramachandra because Pandava's wife was insulted, right? So when the battle of Kurukshetra started, Bhima never considered, if a Kaurava mil gaya means finished, right? But Lord Ramachandra, you see how ideal he was, Kshatriya, that when he saw Ravana coming, he fought also. He shot arrows towards Rama. Rama counteracted all those arrows. And then he tells Ravana, go back, no problem. You come back prepared, then we'll fight. Right? So that is the ideal conduct of Ramachandra. Any Kshatriya, out of fear of his life, if he is running away, attacking him will defame whom? The person who attacked first, and then later the person who gets killed. So these are very, very, thoughtful laws and conduct of Kshatriyas. So to be a Kshatriya is not like, just having physical strength. Sometimes it is described like, Kshatriyas means somebody who has physical strength, not just physical strength, but very, very good scriptural knowledge. That's why Krishna tells to Arjuna, Imam rajarshayo viduhu. Rajarsi means one who has physical strength plus scriptural knowledge. So such kind of people are very, very rare. Physical strength is okay. Like, in the battle, in the wrestling match, Chanuraka and Mushtik, they also had very great strength. Sometimes it is described that they also had a strength of thousands of elephants, if I am not wrong. So just having physical strength is not so great. Or just having, astras under your control is also not very, very great. But the greatness of a Kshatriya is to when to use that weapons. So, in the previous times, in the Mahabharata times or Ramayana times, the astras used to be given to somebody. So sometimes it is portrayed as if some physical object is being given. But more than that, there were very, subtle transfer of ownership of that astra. So that astra is that you chant particular mantras, the astra gets invoked, and on your command the astra will act. Like for example, if you just know the mantra, it is not very sufficient. For example, when Lord Ramachandra was in exile and going through all various forests, all the great sages granted the astras to Rama. And when they granted the astras to Rama, they said that now onwards this astra will act under your control. So these astras earlier were acting under the control of these great sages. Especially Agastya Rishi, who met Lord Ramachandra, or rather Ramachandra came to Agastya. He had very, very great weapons which he had acquired from demigods. So when he gave this astras to Ramachandra, he said that now these astras will act under your control. So in this way the astras used to act. You have to chant in those, chant the mantras and invoke the mantras, invoke the astra, and then when you shoot the astra acts under your control. So when you acquire these astras in a very religious way, the same person who taught this astra to you will also teach you how to retract the astra. Like for example, you shot an astra and you felt that this astra was wrong astra. Then you can counteract the astra also, saying come back. But these days, such kind of science does not exist. These days, the modern science, they only know weapons made of fire and destruction. But they don't know how the weapons of other subtle elements also can be made. There are weapons which can be made of water, There are weapons which can be made of air. There can be weapons which can be made of mind also. So all that subtle weapons were there. But unfortunately, modern science, they create only weapons made of fire. And that too, a very, very limited way of making the weapons. Like for example, we have made nuclear weapons. And the nuclear weapons are such nuclear weapons that they only know destruction without any retraction. Like for example, in the history of world, we have 2 times nuclear weapons being used. And we see that the influence of nuclear weapons lasted for a very long time. Because you don't have the complete control of the weapon. When that weapon explodes, it has influence on its own. You can't say that, okay, from I use this weapon influence will be only this much. That control they don't have. So for times and years, this nuclear weapon kept on emitting its radiation, and there was wholesale massacre of people. So nuclear weapons should not be used like that. Nuclear weapons should be used in a very, very controlled way. So here, of course, Prabhupada speaks about the weapons and their science of using the weapons in a very subtle way. These Brahmastras of Puranic times, they used to be used by a very qualified person to a very specific purpose. Like for example, I am reading Ramayana, so I know a few examples from Ramayana. When Indrajit had used Brahmastra, he tried to attack only on Lakshmana. And of course, Lakshmana being an incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he know how to counteract it. So he know how to counteract other weapons also. There is one thing is that you use a weapon and you know how to counteract the weapon which you shot. The another science is somebody attacks you with a weapon, you know how to counteract others' weapon. So that is a more advanced level of knowledge. Like when we hear that Dronacharya gave so much of archery science to Arjuna, sometimes when we were childhood, we used to feel, what is so great? It is just put the arrow and just shoot it. Why it takes so many years for just to learn archery? But the more a Kshatriya is evolved through this kind of science, he knows how to counteract others' weapons also. So I was just reading other places also. We know in the Krishna book, in the manifest pastimes of Krishna, once upon a time there was battle between Krishna and Lord Shiva. We know there was a demon called Banasura. He was such a great demon that nobody used to come to fight for him. Like for example, if you see the story of Banasura, you will know that when Banasura got so much great strength, he was very much agitated. Why? Because he was never able to fight with anyone. Like he used to go and challenge people that I am Banasura, please come and fight with me. The Kshatriya used to run away. And if Banasura, as I told, wanted to fight in a religious code, he can't find. He cannot fight because the other person has not accepted his challenge. Said, I am not fighting with you. So Banasura, although by pleasing Lord Shiva, he got great strength. But he is never able to use that strength because nobody qualified person is coming to accept his challenge. So anyways, we know that the story of Banasura's daughter was attracted to the grandson of Krishna, and the grandson of Krishna was kept by abduction by Banasura. So imagine Banasura had used a weapon called Nagapasha. Nagapasha means you are kept in captive by the venom of a snake, Nagapasha. You won't die. You have the influence of a snake being coiling you, but you won't die. Imagine there are weapons like that. So similar kind of weapon was used even by Indrajit on Lord Rama and Lakshmana. So however, having done that, when Yadus got to know that our grandson, if I am not wrong, Aniruddha, was in Banasura's kingdom, so they all went there, and there is description how Banasura used a weapon called water weapon or something, and it was counteracted by mountain weapon. Can you imagine? There is weapon means mountain weapons, and there is fire weapon being shot, then there is water weapon being used to counteract it. So it is very mystical for us to understand, because we have very limited scope. We only know some weapons, some bombs being used, or guns. We just only know that. We don't know how to use a mountain weapon. For most of the people reading Krishna book for the first time, they would have got there is something called as mountain weapon, right? Nobody knew what is mountain weapon, how to use it, and they all knew how to use it and how to counteract it also. So that is a speciality of these subtle weapons. And Prabhupada says that definitely these subtle weapons are even also material only. So of course for that particular case, Banasura got a competent fighter. And that's how, of course, at the end of the whole battle, Banasura was killed. And Aniruddha's marriage with her daughter, I forgot the name of the daughter of Banasura. Usha, yes. Usha was married like that. So the codes and conducts of Kshatriyas are very, very subtle. They are not operated by just mental whims. Like for example, now, if one country wants to attack another country and gain ownership over it, it will just attack. I have that karma of gaining ownership over this country, I just do it. So there is no council guiding that particular king, and the other king, whether they are qualified or they are willing to have that battle, is also not considered. For just example, if the two countries wants to fight, or they are having some dispute, if the other country says, I don't want to fight, so the other bigger country, even though you are powerful, you cannot fight against such a person, such a country, because they are not willing to fight. So that's why it was told that dharma yuddhas are rare. Like many times you will see, especially when a particular king wants to perform Ashwamedha Yajna or Rajasuya Yajna, a king will send out a messenger saying that I want to perform Rajasuya Yajna. Anybody wants to, unhappy, or you are not concurring with my idea of conducting Rajasuya Yajna, come for a battle, right? And most of them would, if Yudhishthira sends out a messenger like that, nobody would like to willing to fight. They would accept that proposal of that particular king by giving some gift to the messenger who has come. He said, from our side, we have no objection for such and such act. So very rarely you will see that somebody objects. Like in Mahabharata, you will see that only Jarasandha had objected for Yudhishthira's yajna, right? So then Krishna goes there along with Bhima, and the whole battle, outcome of the battle. So this is what is description in the Puranas and in the courts of Kshatriyas. What is the right way of fighting and killing a person? That's why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes in one of the purport that killing is not wrong. Killing in a very righteous way is very, very good. It eradicates the sin of a person who has committed papa. So that's why killing should be done in a very, very righteous way. Unfortunately, Ashwathama didn't knew all that. He only knew that how should I kill my enemy. Actually saying Ashwathama and Pandavas are not enemies, so to say, directly. Like Duryodhana and Pandavas are enemies, we can say like that. But Ashwathama, just out of his own whims, he thought that my father is on the side of Duryodhana or Kauravas, so maybe I also should be on the side of Kauravas. And I mean, at least in whatever readings I have done, there is no instructions either by Dronacharya or by any superior people for Ashwathama to be on the side of Kauravas. He just, out of his own whims, he thought that I got so much of knowledge of weapons, I learnt so many, I got so much power, so let me just use it. Let me just get into the battle. Let me befriend Duryodhana, like that. See, Karna was to, so to say, was okay, kind of a friend for Duryodhana. But Ashwathama, there was no good reasons, but still he enacted like that. So this all goes to show that our Puranas, our great history speaks about a perfect way of Vedic system. Who a Brahmana is, who a Kshatriya is, how a knowledge should be imparted for qualified Kshatriyas, what kind of rules and regulations a Kshatriya should be used to rule the kingdom. So all this was a very, very perfect arrangement. There was no unnecessary caste discriminations and uneasiness. Only this caste discrimination, taking some exceptions from the Shastras, has been misused by the invaders in India to disturb the normal functioning of a society. Otherwise, all the classes of people were living in a very, very satisfied way. When there is a description of Ayodhya, especially, in the beginning there is described that what were the qualities of the Brahmanas living there, what were the qualities of Kshatriyas who were living there, what were the qualities of Vaishyas living there, and Shudras living there. And especially in the Valmiki Ramayana it is mentioned that these Shudras were happy serving the other three classes. Like Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, the qualities of a Shudras are labor and service to the higher classes. So Shudras were happy in serving the other classes of people. So this is a way of Varnashram system, so very scientific that it is very, very specific, at the same time very, very considerate in every situation. So if a Brahmana like Ashwathama does a mistake, it's very clear in the Shastras that he should be killed. Now somebody who is sinful and is not in a class of a Kshatriya, then a ruling Kshatriya can kill that person even without challenging him for a battle. Like for example, a Kshatriya will challenge only another Kshatriya for a battle. He will not challenge a lower class of people or other class of people for a battle. And if he is sinful, if the Kshatriya, the ruling king, decides that I want to kill this sinful person, he can kill it. It is nothing wrong on a Kshatriya, provided he is proved to be a sinful person. So here, so to say, the Ashwathama, even without being coming to the battlefield, deserves a killing punishment. Because he has already transgressed the rules of Kshatriya and killed 5 sons of Pandavas. So ideally saying, Arjuna should have given a punishment to him. And he has taken that step also. When he got to know, and he told Draupadi that only when I bring the blood of Ashwathama and pacify you, till that time I will not keep quiet. So this is the way Kshatriyas used to speak and give promises. Today, the Mother Earth will drink your blood, only then I will be peaceful. So this is the way Kshatriyas used to fight. And when Kshatriyas used to see the blood of an opponent, he used to get more enraged to fight. Or Kshatriyas, sometimes they see their own blood, they used to become more enraged in the battle. So in this way, the Kshatriyas were very, chivalrous. So however, when Arjuna decides that I will kill Ashwathama, and here in this particular case, when he takes a chariot driven by Krishna, and he goes to fight Ashwathama, apparently Ashwathama, to protect his own life, in a very disturbed state of mind, he shouts Brahmastra. So now Arjuna knew how to use Brahmastra, how to counteract his own Brahmastra, how to counteract others' Brahmastra also. So here Krishna is telling to Arjuna, know from me that this Brahmastra has been shot to protect himself, and here Ashwathama is getting scared to fight against Arjuna. This goes to show that Ashwathama was not a very righteous person. He tells that I will kill Pandavas. And at the same time, when the Pandavas come in front of you, he is getting fearful, even before Arjuna is shooting arrows. Only probably Ashwathama got to know that Arjuna has promised to Draupadi that today Ashwathama will be killed. So Ashwathama probably got to know this news. This is little surprising for me also, that anything happens on the other side of the party which is fighting, the other party gets to know. I mean, how the Guptacharas, how the spies used to work is still very surprising. Like if you read Ramayana and entirely also, every act what Lord Ramachandra's party is doing, they used to get to know. And everything what Ravana's party is happening, Lord Ramchandra used to get to know. It's very, very surprising how these Guptacharas used to work. Sometimes you will see that, just in case of Mahabharata also you will see that when Bhishma manifests that 5 arrows and gives to Duryodhana, saying that tomorrow with these 5 arrows, 5 Pandavas will be killed. So Krishna gets to know. Of course, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. But apart from that, Pandavas also get to know that such and such a thing has happened. So just imagine the quality of spies those times they used to have. In as much as like a drishtant, they used to call. Drishtant means as if you have seen what has exactly happened. They used to describe it like that. So that is the glory of the spies also at that time. So however, I don't know how Ashwathama got to know this. So, but just then when he sees that Arjuna has got onto the chariot and with the mission of killing me, he is just running away. And to save his life, he is shot Brahmastra, not knowing how to counteract. And he is just seeing what kind of devastation this Brahmastra can do. So under the guidance of Krishna, Arjuna, in the future verses you will see that he shoots the Brahmastra similar to the Brahmastra of Ashwathama, and then when these two Brahmastras collide, there is a huge glare of radiation that comes out, a huge scorching. It is described that not only in this planetary system, but in other planetary systems, people were disturbed by the heat of that Brahmastra. And then finally, Arjuna counteracts that also. And then Ashwathama was left helplessly. He knew that the best weapon I have shot, so I have nothing more to protect my own life. Unless Arjuna, out of his own kindness, because probably he got to know also that Draupadi has asked Arjuna not to kill him, out of her own, womanly sentiment or whatever, kindness. So sometimes it is described that it is Arjuna's kindness that he left Ashwathama with his life. Or sometimes it is described that it was Draupadi's insistence and Arjuna did not wanted to displease Draupadi because she was already in lamentation. She was already in a very pitiable situation. So why to disobey or not act upon her instructions? So now definitely the Puranas are very, very perfect. So now even if you consider Arjuna being kind-hearted, and left Ashwatthama. Why he could have left Ashwatthama? Because Ashwatthama was not prepared to act and fight against Arjuna. So you can apply this dharma also. But there is other dharma also, where somebody who is sinful has to be killed. So there are so many dharmas, contradictory dharmas also sometimes. However, Krishna, through the examples of devotees, gives us very, very perfect example. Although Krishna himself is telling that now you kill Ashwatthama. So now from one angle of view, Arjuna has disobeyed Krishna's instruction. But in the entire act, what we can see is that there is a perfect example to learn from. Although if there is not a perfect example of what exactly has happened, but there is a perfect example to learn from. So of course, definitely Ashwatthama was a Chiranjeevi. He could not have been killed by martial weapons or astras. But still, Arjuna could have made an attempt on the instruction of Krishna, that because Krishna is telling me to kill Ashwatthama, I will try at least to make an attempt. Now if he does not get killed, further instructions Krishna could have given. But however, Arjuna, out of kind-heartedness or somehow, he decided that okay, I will spare his life. But at the same time, I don't know, I have heard from other devotees that Ashwatthama got many physical ailments. Many physical ailments, because of which the same benediction which he has of being a Chiranjeevi becomes like a curse to him. Imagine you are sick. Just imagine somebody who is about to die, he is not even able to live properly. He is told that you will live 10 more years. So imagine he has to suffer 10 more years of suffering. Better than that suffering is you die once now. But however, so that same benediction becomes a curse to Ashwatthama for having acted so carelessly. Like in the purport, Prabhupada writes that he speaks about Ashwatthama's carelessness or Brahmana's carelessness. What is that exactly line? I don't know. The Brahmastra is similar to combustibility. He implied imminent death. Okay. As a son of Brahmana, he should not have made so many mistakes. So Ashwatthama had done mistakes after mistakes, and for him the right punishment is to live in such a situation where you cannot live. You understanding? Like sometimes death is given as a punishment, definitely yes, but for some reason or another, this kind of punishment also is also a very punishment, sometimes even worse than death. Now of course from one angle point of view, you may see as a Kshatriya to be defeated and your hairs being cut off, right, is worse than death. So that is it's just one time instance, right? It's just a one time instance. But now it's not just that. Ashwatthama is left with a kind of a body where you have full of physical ailments, where you cannot live happily, you cannot eat, you cannot die also. So for him to live a long life with all these ailments was worse than death, and that was what was punishment conferred upon Ashwatthama at the end. So I am subjected definitely to Shastrical quotes, but I have heard from devotees. So this seems to be very logical also. To live a life full of such a thing is also worse than that. So in this way, Ashwatthama was punished. So in the future verses also we will see how the conversation unfolds and how this entire setup is given to an end of Ashwatthama's life. Even then Ashwatthama, you will see, again does mistakes after mistakes. So such a sinful person does not deserve to be so much discussed as well. Anyway, so it's a very small chapter in Bhagavatam, just given to understand how Pariksit Maharaj was protected. So the more purported explanation of why even Bhagavatam even describes that, even without taking name, is that how Pariksit Maharaj becomes Pariksit. when the Brahmastra was shot on Pariksit to die, Pariksit becomes very, very conscious of a very super power which has protected him. Imagine those who are even living outside, for them the heat of Brahmastra was intolerable. Imagine when the Brahmastra enters the womb, and in that small space of the womb, Pariksit is given a glimpse of that heat inside the womb of his mother, and suddenly Krishna comes in the form of Sudarshan Chakra and protects Pariksit. So that's why Pariksit is very, very curious. Who is that person who had come inside the womb to protect me from such a great danger of heat? So Bhagavatam takes his time to explain how Ashwathama is Ashwathama and how Pariksit became Pariksit. So this all pastime wonderfully explains various devotional, yet very practical, yet very full of course of conducts of Kshatriyas to be followed, and at the same time very, very simple phenomenon of devotees is being explained. That whatever happens, just take shelter of Krishna, just like Arjuna did, just like Uttara did, and just like now Pariksit is also doing. Whatever happens in your life, apparently it is danger, apparently it is calamity, whatever it may be, just take shelter of Krishna. So that is one end of Bhagavatam which Bhagavatam teaches us. So thank you all very much for giving your time and attention for the reading of this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Anybody has any questions or any comments, then please do so. Yes, Prabhu.
In one sense, what Ashwathama did was, his father was also beheaded, right? Drona. But the explanation can be given that Drona was also involved in killing Abhimanyu. So as a revenge he did that. So which is righteous? So because him killing Abhimanyu made Drona like he could be killed. So that was righteous. So Ashwathama, he might have done it as a revenge, so but it became very sinful.
Fine. See, even if your father has been killed, if you are part of the battle, you can act. See, Dronacharya was killed while he was fighting, right? If I am not wrong, Dronacharya was fighting, and because Dronacharya was become very, very difficult to fight, there was a statement made that Ashwathama has died, although Ashwathama has not died. So out of his fatherly affection, he felt that, oh, my son has been died. He also knew that my son is Chiranjeevi. Just see the plight of sometimes material affection. So he thought, son has died, so I can't use a weapon now out of some sentiment he has. And at that time, Dronacharya was killed. Now, a revenge for a wrong done, if it is righteously administered, that counteracts the whole thing. A revenge is done out of a revenge. That revenge and the wrongdoing is finished. You don't have to take revenge for the second act, right? If Abhimanyu has been killed and Dronacharya in some way was part of that, because you are already part on Kauravas itself is a big mistake. Of course, why Dronacharya was on the part of Kauravas is described to a justifiable explanation. So if somebody does wrong and that has been avenged, so it is done. You don't have to take that as a secondary revenge for your thing. So that is wrong. Ashwathama was not part of battle of Kurukshetra, so to say. So why are you getting into it? Your father was killed, it's okay. You can take avenge of your father being killed, if at all you want to do it in a righteous way, because that unrighteous act which was involved in killing your father was a revenge for another unrighteous act. So now you want to avenge, you avenge it righteously, not by killing the sons. If you want to counteract killing of your father, you cannot do it by killing their sons. That is a wrong counteraction. Okay? Especially sons were how many? Small children. I don't know if it was 2-3 years children or 5 years children, we don't know. Okay? Hare Krishna. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for enlightening with the science of the weapons and everything. Prabhuji, in the lecture you mentioned one which I am not able, Like when Draupadi told to Arjuna not to kill Ashwathama out of womanly sentiment. But before this thing happens, Krishna has given all the instruction in the Gita that we are not the body, we are the soul, and as Kshatriya you have to kill everyone. So now Arjuna is getting influenced by Draupadi kind of thing. So is it like going against of the words of Krishna, or what scene is happening?
So
like?
yeah, definitely seeing in one perspective it says that. But another perspective, as I told, it is a perfect example to learn from. It's perfect example to learn from, that even if you are a very great devotee, even if you are advanced devotee, don't get influenced by material affection. Just like Arjuna got because of material affection, again you had an impending danger on your head. So if it is righteous act, you just do the righteous act. So by Arjuna not following Krishna's instruction, he is definitely in one way wrong. But Krishna, from a bigger picture of perspective, he is showing what is a perfect example, using Arjuna as an example. Okay?
But Krishna says in the Gita, Yad yad acharase shrestha, whatever you do, people will follow. Now
So that's why he has used him as an example. Because you did mistake, see now what is the problem for you. That's why even if you are a so great person, don't do. Like sometimes there is a teaching for an example what you should do, and there is a teaching for an example what you should not do. So Krishna is using Arjuna in both ways. Like in case of Bhishma, most of the time Bhishma's example is that what you should not do. Right? You should not keep quiet when Draupadi is disturbed. You should not keep quiet when Duryodhana said that I will go in the forest and meet Pandavas there in Dvaitavana or something. Not when they were attacked by Yakshas. Kauravas were attacked by Yakshas. That time also, when they took permission from Dhritarashtra, Bhishma kept quiet. So Bhishma's example is mainly as to what you should not do. Krishna is teaching from Bhishma's example what you should not do. There are examples of Krishna's devotees from where Krishna teaches what you should do. He is using Arjuna in both the sense, what you should do, what you should not do. Okay? Fine. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, what does this Chiranjeevi exactly mean? Chiranjeevi means they will live,
Till the
in
end
one
of
day.
Brahma's day.
One day
Till
of
the end
Brahma.
of Brahma's day, yeah. They will either live in this planet or some other planetary system, wherever they are. In the entire day of Brahma, they will live. They will not die. They will not leave this body till the end of Brahma's day.
After Brahma's day, they will die. Thank
Brahma's day ends the mark of Kalpa. So such a long life is called as Chiranjeevi. So more than that, of course, Ashwatthama, there are so many Chiranjeevi. Markandeya Rishi had a still bigger benediction. Even at the end of Brahma's day, you will not die. Right? That comes in 11th canto. But we will give an example.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for nice class.
Hare Krishna.
You mentioned that if someone is died in the battlefield, his sinful activities are completely burnt off, and he will ascend to the heavenly planet. At least what I understand is, like, that will not burn the sinful activities. This dying in the battlefield will earn them credit to go to the heaven. But sinful activities will be there. Either later or before, they must spend time in the Narakaloka, or they have to face those sinful reactions.
May not be. It is very complicated to give a very
Because heavenly planet is something temporary only.
Yeah. It is
After
also
that,
temporary.
They
After
have
that,
to eat the...
Yeah, after that again they will come back to Karma Bhumi. Definitely.
Yeah.
But in the battle of Kurukshetra, when you die, when you are shot arrows, the pain that is inflicted upon you will eradicate of your sinful activity. See, of course, definitely it is not a very blanket statement that you apply to everyone. But definitely his sinful activities goes. Why? Because he has fought at least according to Dharma. He is fought at least according to Dharma. But if the Kshatriya turns back from the battle and he is going, then his sinful activities will not go away.
Still, sinful activities are something very, very deep. only by the holy name, sinful actions,
That is
sinful
true.
reactions will be
That is-
burnt
that-
off. Otherwise,
That is true. That is true. But when we speak about Dharma Yuddha, that is a speciality of Dharma Yuddha. That even when you die, your sinful activities go. That's why Krishna is telling to Arjuna, these kind of Dharma Yuddhas come very rare upon glorious Kshatriyas. So not just Arjuna is becoming an instrument in establishing Dharma, he is becoming instrument in eradicating sinful activities of others. So that angle is also there. But it depends, definitely karma is individual. It may not go sometimes. But generally, if he is fired according to dharma, yuddha, kshatriya, yuddha, it goes. May not be everything, but at least definitely he will be purified.
because if we take the example of Nrga Maharaj, he did so many things, so many pious activities, but still one small mistake also.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was not, he was no way connected to dharma yuddha.
Of course, it was not
He
connected
was
to Dharma
involved
Yuddha.
in mishandling brahmanas. So mishandling brahmanas is a higher punishment level than mishandling kshatriya. Yes. Question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We often hear that we go to heaven and after that we come down here again. Why can't we go above, keep going unless we reach Vaikuntha? Why we have to fall down here?
Yeah, see, in Svargaloka, there is very less possibility of going back to Vaikuntha from there. Because in Svargaloka, the whole consciousness of that person is that I have acquired so much punya, let me enjoy. So because of so much of enjoyment, a person, it's very difficult to remember Krishna in devotional mood. People know about Krishna, but the devotional mood is not brought out there because of so much of bhoga. Like all the demigods know that Krishna is them, not every one of them descended and supported Krishna in his mission. Only very few demigods came. So because of that bhoga, they are not interested, become disinterested. Okay. Yes, can we complete the questions or? Yes, you can ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the explanation, Prabhuji. So I have one question on if you see the battlefield Kurukshetra, that is called Dharma Yuddha, that is Dharma Kshetra, and in both the Kauravas and Pandavas, while fighting, in some situations they have done unrighteous way of fighting. For example, they killed Dronacharya or Abhimanyu. So, irrespective of having all this adharmic way of fighting, why is it called dharmic way of fighting? Dharmic Yuddha.
Okay, fine. Very good. So now, it is wrong to think that Pandavas also did something adharmic in the Kshatriya codes. Now, when the battle of Kurukshetra started, there was a referee, like you play a football match, there is a referee, right? So the referees chanted all the codes and conducts of Kshatriyas, how the battle of Yuddha, battle of Kurukshetra should be fought. Then there is one last clause. What is that last clause? That if one side starts fighting according to adharma, then the other side also can start fighting according to adharma. So now the second person who fought against the first person who became adharmi, that second person will not be called as adharmi because he became unrighteous. I cannot use the word called adharmi, whatever, unrighteous, because he has started fighting unrighteously. So in that particular case, only the first person who fought unrighteously will be called as unrighteous. The second person who did unrighteous activity will not be called as unrighteous. Agreed? Logical? Right? Now, Kauravas are adharmi, bhai. What else you can expect? That's why Dhritarashtra was worried. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre. Right? There are many explanations to this dharma kshetre, but this is one thing. Okay?
I have one more question if I can
Yeah.
ask. Yeah. So regarding the caste or varna system that we have, it is said that maybe when Britishers came and they have observed our system and they have seen our Varna system and they have changed it into caste discrimination, and because of that now we are having a problem. But if you see in 5,000 years back, even then Karna was facing this Varna discrimination. Maybe I'm not correct, but I heard that Bhima or someone mentioned that he's not Kshatriya, so you can't fight with him. Or when Arjuna.
So now what happens is, when we read scriptures or read see serials or those who are endorsed by non-Vedic things, they tell like this, saying that you are born to Suta, that's why you are not qualified to Kshatriya. That is not the only reason. As I said, Kshatriya does not mean just physical power. He needs to have a good scriptural knowledge to use which weapon where. It is not just having weapons make you Kshatriya. So when he is told that he is not a Kshatriya, he is not just Kshatriya just by physical strength. He is not Kshatriya by his scriptural knowledge. Karna did not have higher intelligence to know what is right, what is wrong. If Karna would have been real Kshatriya, which he for some time at least he acted like a good Kshatriya, but when he saw that Draupadi was disrobed and Kauravas went in the forest to kill Pandavas, even when they were not prepared for a war, seeing all that, Karna would have said, Bhai, this is not a Kshatriya rule. Oh, you may be my friend, but I cannot help you in the battle, get lost. If he is a real Kshatriya, he would have done that. And you will see that Karna was driven by personal revenges in battle rather than fighting Dharma Yuddha. He will say that Bhishma always showed me down. So till the time Bhishma is there, I will not fight. Where is your friendship gone? Right? So Karna, physically he may be Kshatriya, but as per scriptural knowledge, he is not counted as Kshatriya. So when he is not counted as Kshatriya, all these people who give wrong interpretations to Mahabharata, they will say that you have caste discrimination in your system, because that time they misused this thing. Okay?
Yeah, Prabhu.
We need to end. It is 9:15. I cannot go too much beyond time. Okay? So thank you all very much. Grantraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki.
His grace.